Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Last of the Runaways by Giant. This is their debut album released September 1989. Not sure what date it came out, so I'm putting it out today, but it's 35 years old this month. So Giant were formed basically from four crack session musicians, and particularly session guitar ace and vocalist Dan Huff. So Dan Huff actually picked up a lot of the work that Steve Lukather used to do, basically. So when Steve Lukather stopped doing a lot of his session work, Dan Huff was like the new Steve Lukather. And that's a good comparison for his guitar playing. He's got that Rolls Royce sort of tone to his playing. Everything's really well played. Obviously, he's a session musician. It has to be. Obviously, can nail stuff quickly. And he's got that kind of posh Bob Bradshaw rack sound that was beloved in the end of the 80s, but not too processed, just right. Lots of guts, lots of soul to his playing, but also great chops, great alternate picking, very good two-handed tapping, also a master whammy bar slurring and cool sort of whammy bar pinch harmonics as well, dives and so on. So one of the sort of great guitar players to come out at the end of the 80s that we became aware of. So what's the album like? It's produced by Terry Thomas. So Terry Thomas didn't do loads of production work, but he's absolutely stellar on the two Giant albums. And I think really you've got to put half of that on Giant, basically. You've got these musicians who are used to being around studios and know how to get sound. So it obviously makes it a lot easier for the producer. This album sounds spectacularly good. And the follow-up album, Time to Burn, sounds even better. There's a real benchmark recordings. When I was listening to it today, what struck me was how I've got the Rock Candy remaster, was how like sort of present the bottom end was lovely bass. Quite a lot of the toms were kind of thundering the speakers, but loads of clarity, excellent vocal production. 80s production, but good 80s production. Not suffering from some of the nastiness that other 80s recordings can. Sorry, just a bit of indigestion. So the album opens with I'm a Believer. This is one of the all-time late 80s classic hard rock AOR tracks. Begins with a kind of little solo spot from Dan, which is, as you would expect, it's awesome. And it's got a really cool kind of U2 kind of guitar part at the top, topper end of the neck on the guitar, so to speak. Really lovely groove. Really lovely breakdown for the verses, cracking chorus, stellar soloing. It's got one of my favourite fade-out guitar solos of all time on this. Not really much you can say about this track. It's written by Dan Huff and his brother David Huff, Alan Pasca, a guy called Mark Spiro and a guy called Phil Naish. So I'm not sure who he was. I think Mark Spiro has done quite a lot of outside songwriting. But Huff's no slouch. He does production now and does co-writing. It's just, like I say, it's just stellar stuff. It's the best track on the album. So next track is Innocent Days. So this has kind of got a nice funky groove, really cool, clean, sort of funky guitar part on this. Again, when you listen to the tone and the way it's played, it's like really precise, but it's got a great pocket. Again, as you would expect from a first call session player, an ability to kind of sit in the groove perfectly, not too on the beat, not too off the beat, in that pocket, and play everything clean and precise. Remember, this is still the era on this. I imagine there's maybe some digital aspects to this production, but this is still going to be an era of reel-to-reel where you've got to be able to nail it. This album's actually recorded at Ridge Farm Studio, so that's famous for the first two Ozzy Osbourne albums. Okay, Innocent Days, really good. Written by Dan Huff, co-written by Mark Spiro. Really nice soloing on this. Great second track. Then you got I Can't Get Close Enough. This is quite epic, it's about 6 minutes. I would say on this album, sometimes the songs are maybe a little longer than they need to be, and that's a criticism of the second album, Time to Burn. But it's in that era where songs are starting to get longer, to fill more space. This album's 55 minutes, 11 tracks, so every track's an average of 5 minutes. But this is a really good track. It's got a great kind of climax, sort of middle eight that's repeated, I guess. At the end with stellar soloing, of course. So I really like this track. It's got a nice kind of slinky bluesy feel on the verses, but it kind of builds into something kind of quite epic. Then you've got like the band's kind of only other kind of hit, I guess. This is actually quite a reasonably sized hit. I wonder if I can find it peaked at number 20 on Hot 100, so this is I'll See You in My Dreams. You know, I was listening to this before, it occurred to me that there's a place for the power ballad, the rock power ballad, and the power ballad in itself, where it be the Glory of Love or Power of Love by Jennifer Rush, or the theme of Titanic, My Heart Will Go On, or Every Breath You Take. It's a real lost art now, I think. And the kind of rock AOR power ballad, Giant were very good at it. Lost in Paradise, track off their second album, was excellent. This is a great track. It's actually written by Alan Pasca and Mark Spiro, so not Dan Huff on this one. I was actually on holiday a few years ago, and the bar I was in played sort of songs like this, and then this came on. I was like, oh, chuffed to bits. Great solo, of course. Really good. It's got a great arrangement. You can see why it was a hit. The other problem for bands like this, it's kind of dependent, becomes dependent on songs like this and having hits. I think they're accessible, and that's probably why Giant didn't kind of catch on the way they should have. And also, by the time the second album came out, music had changed dramatically. Next track, now I'm not sure whether this finished the original side one. Let me just see, 16, 20, 24 minutes, 28, yes. So there'll be six tracks, on side one. So the next one's No Way Out. I'm not massive on this track. It's kind of funky. I think it's that thing, No Way Out has been a cliched title. It just doesn't stick out as much to me. But Shake Me Up, which finishes side one, was really catchy, is really catchy. It's got a good groove. Again, it's got stellar soloing, really good hook. It's quite a lot of fun, this track. So a really good side one, apart from track 5, really strong. Side 2, like I said, I'm guessing opens with It Takes Two. Like I said, could be wrong with that. It's by Alan Pasca again. A little more kind of ballady. I'll give this track a 6 out of 10. I quite like it. I don't like it as much as the stellar tracks on side 1. They got Strange to Me. This has got some great guitar on this. Really cool whammy swing, some cool harmonies. The way the solo breaks down is good, and it's quite atmospheric track. I think it's the second longest track on the album. So this is a kind of deep cut, I suppose. Then next it was Hold Back the Night. This is kind of like, it's another catchy number. It's a little cheesy, but it is good. And I would say the same for Love Welcome Home as well. Again, quite poppy chorus. I like the track, I don't love it. And then it finishes with the Big Pitch, which is a kind of catchy number, a little bit fillery for me. Let's just say every track's really well produced, the vocals are great. So I think the album really just tail off a little bit on side 2, and that's probably why I always preferred the Time to Burn album, which I thought was more consistent. But obviously a lot of people prefer this album, and I'm sure people will probably disagree with my views on some of these tracks, but having said that, it's still a really good record. This is still one of the last records of its time, really. The fact that it wasn't a hit, or they had a hit single but the album didn't sell great. As I said before, in '92 music's changed. Just very, by this point, this type of music saturated the airwaves in America, starting with Foreigner and Journey's Escape, or their late 70s, all the way through the 80s. Lots of bands have tried and put out albums in that ilk, or, gotten outside songwriters to get that kind of sound. Giant were like a great band. Image-wise, they didn't really have much image or personality. It's not like something like when you've got a Heart album where they get turned into an AR band with outside songwriters, and of course you've got like the Image Makeover and the Wilson Sisters who are big personalities, It's that kind of thing. It's well worth checking out. Dan Huff is one of the unsung greats of guitar, there's no doubt. He's got all ticks all the boxes. And quite cool, after this he went in production, kind of didn't come back to performing, he went his way, actually produced a couple of Megadeth albums, strangely enough. He's done all sorts of stuff, but so Giant, last of the Runaways. Check it out, remember to share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks very much.